Hello my gorgeous people, it's Grace here, Bikeadonia, another beautiful morning in Chiang Mai, and we are heading off for another dirt biking adventure. So we are heading towards the Myanmar border this time, about 5 hours drive out of Chiang Mai, and we're heading for some remote villages. Now these villages have dirt road access during the dry season, but during the wet season those roads become impassable to vehicles, even four-wheel drives. And so that's why we're heading up there with a bunch of enduro riders, and we're going to take supplies to the village. It should be a great adventure. We're going to be camping out for nights, and we shall see what kind of trouble we get ourselves into. Okay, so we've now been to Macro, which is sort of the Thai equivalent of Costco, and we've bought half of the shop, which we now have to somehow fit on our motorcycles to take up the mountain. It's a 5-hour drive to our starting point, so we're just settling in for a road trip. We've got our coffee, we've got our snacks, we've got our music. Hi Pilar. What exactly did we buy? We were given a list of requests from the people in the village, mostly some pretty basic staples, things like rice, oil, salt, dry food. There were things for the kids as well, shoes for children, raincoats for children, pencils for school, things like female sanitary products, shampoo, that sort of thing. And so we grabbed a selection of these items. Now, Thailand is really very well developed these days, but the development is not always evenly distributed. So you'll find up in the mountains, particularly in the ethnic minority villages, that often the development has not really come to fruition yet. So those are the communities that we're supporting. As darkness falls, we arrive at Mae Moi National Park, which is where we camp for the first night. Mae Moi is about halfway between Mae Sariang and Mae Sot, and it's just across the river from Myanmar. Really wild, beautiful country. Anyway, as night falls, so does the rain, and it's fine to start with because this first night in the parking lot of the national park, we have the rooftop tent on the truck. It's a super comfortable setup, so we just lay there in the dark watching the lightning and listening to the rain falling on top of the tent. The next morning, however, is less fun as it becomes clear that the rain is not going to stop and we are going to be riding in some crazy slippery conditions. Okay, it's raining so hard that I need a waterproof phone. I can't even film this because my phone's going to get drowned. This is ridiculous. First things first, we load up the supplies onto the bikes. I've got the Reckless 80 from Mosko Moto, which I usually use with my KTM 690 Enduro, but today I'm putting it on the CRF 450. Today of all days, I'm loving the fact that it's absolutely waterproof. On the KLX230, I just have small panniers, which I stuff full of packets of uncooked rice, vacuum packed and waterproof. I strap my tent and sleeping gear back on top, and I add another couple of slabs of cans of sardines. It's a great turnout for the ride. I reckon there must be 50 or 60 enduro bikes, and people have come from all over Thailand. Almost all the bikes are CRFs or KLXs with a few WRs thrown in here or there. There is a huge mountain of donations, and it takes hours to go through the process of strapping them onto everyone's bikes. By the time we get on the trails, everyone is already soaked through and chilled to the bone. Still, morale is high and everyone is joking and laughing. If you want to be stuck on a mountain with a bunch of good-humoured people who can still see the funny side and have endless amounts of patience, you probably want to be stuck on a mountain with a bunch of Thai people. It rains all day, and the road conditions just get muddier and slipperier. As we get further and further up the mountain, the ruts get deeper and deeper, and soon we have ruts up to our knees. But I am super grateful for these ruts because they're the only thing stopping us from sliding off the road. It isn't easy hauling fully loaded bikes through these conditions, but the scenery is breathtaking. Mostly the jungle is shrouded in cloud, but every now and then we get a few minutes of clear view, and it's totally worth it. It's raining so hard that I have to stash my GoPro because I don't have a waterproof housing for it. Of course, the normal housing is supposed to be water resistant, but these conditions are more like swimming. The same goes for my phone. It stays in its waterproof baggie for the entirety of the day because as soon as you open a zip, everything is instantly soaked and covered in red clay. The few photos I have are from my waterproof camera, but it's a constant struggle to keep the water off the lens. Everything I touch is instantly soaked. As the afternoon wears on, the group breaks up into multiple small groups. I find myself in the lead with 4 or 5 other people, and soon it feels like we are the only people up here on the mountain. It's getting colder and darker, and so we push on towards the schoolhouse, which is our destination for the night. By the time we reach the schoolhouse, we are all exhausted. It takes me 45 minutes to go through the process of peeling off all of my soaked layers of riding gear and washing all of the clay out of the fasteners. But arrive we have, and I am so grateful for it as we set up our tents inside the schoolhouse and slowly dry off for the night. There are only 7 bikes that have made it here. Everybody else is stuck somewhere in the rain on the mountain as darkness falls. The next day it has almost stopped raining and the conditions are instantly easier. Around 8 o'clock the village children materialise, waiting excitedly for the treats that we've brought them. Most of the supplies are still stuck out on the mountain somewhere with their unfortunate carriers. So we give out the supplies that we have thus far, as well as making hot Ovaltine for the children. It's beautiful and isolated up here on the mountain, and these children are living a simple kind of childhood with no mobile phone reception, no screen time, nothing like that. It's one of those moments where it strikes me that I'm a long way away from where I started on my motorcycle trip. It's an unexpected privilege to find myself here helping out in this remote part of Thailand. On our way down the mountain, we pass the rest of the group, spread out along the trail. As we suspected, most of them ended up camping wherever they happened to be when darkness fell. Usually this was at the foot of a particularly gnarly section or hill. But like I say, the weather has improved dramatically, so everyone is going to make it just fine. One of the villagers also has a tractor, and remaining supplies are loaded onto the tractor for the final stretch to the school. All my muscles are starting to stiffen from the exertion when we finally make it back to the truck, but it's no longer cold and raining. We take the long way back to Chiang Mai, stopping to eat and nap along the way. We open up the rooftop tent to let it dry off in the sun. It's been a good weekend, and we've accomplished our mission. It seems like everything we own is wet and stinky and covered in mud now, but it was totally worth it. We'll be back to explore this beautiful mountain region again, hopefully in better weather. I have hundreds of messages and notifications on my phone which accumulated while we were out of phone signal. But I'm not quite ready to look at them yet.